Hello, Sun City. My name is Rev Erika Allison, and I am here to give you a quick, wise moment of mental wellness. And I'm coming to you live from Long Beach, Long Island, New York. So all the way across the country from where you are. But I'm super excited to connect with Pastor Jim and deliver this message to you. The essence of my story and what I want to chat with you about today is something I experienced when I was 18 years old called conversion therapy. So if you can't tell by my shirt, I woke up this gay. When I came out, I grew up in Texas. When I came out as a lesbian when I was 18 years old, my religious community, the church that I was a part of, wasn't really able to accept that as okay. And because of that, I experienced something called conversion therapy. And if you haven't heard of conversion therapy, it is a practice where a group of people, an organization, tries to change your sexual orientation or gender identity. And this is something that I experienced when I was 18 years old. It was a well-meaning experience. The church meant well, and they really were trying to help me and help save me. However, it had a lot of longer-term consequences. And so what I want to say to anybody who's experienced any sort of rejection, whether it be from your religious house, the religion you grew up as a kid, or I mean, obviously you're in a great congregation now, and I'm grateful for that. But maybe when you were a kid, you experienced some messages that who you are was not okay, maybe that you're not lovable, and maybe you're not gay, and this didn't have anything to do with your sexual orientation, but it was just a message that you received because of the way you grew up, maybe from your family or maybe from the people around you, any kind of figures like that. I guess what I want to share with you is that there are a few consequences that come out of messages like this. In my case, I really internalized those messages, even though the people were no longer giving me those messages as I became an adult. I left those communities and no longer was receiving those. I had internalized those messages within myself. And what that basically meant was there was a part of me, and I wasn't even conscious of it. It was happening in my subconscious. There was a part of me that was still holding on to this belief that who I was not okay, that it wasn't lovable, that I wasn't worthy. And it created situations in my life where I felt like I really needed to earn love or twist myself into a pretzel to try to be worthy of other people's love or approval. And the way that I learned this happened to me was I had a coach say to me, it seems like you have a foot on the gas, but you have this other foot on the brake. What's going on there? And I thought about it and I said, well, I probably just don't want to deal with judgment because, when I was younger, I dealt with some judgment. People judged me for who I was when I tried to show up as myself in the world. I got a lot of judgment. It didn't feel good. I don't really want to experience that again. And this coach said something really revolutionary to me. At least for me, it was mind-blowing. He said, anytime you fear a judge in the outside world, it just means that you're afraid somebody's going to say something that confirms what your inner judge has been holding against you all of this time. And I thought about that and I'm like, wow, inner judge. I really thought all of this judgment was coming from outside of me. But when you really think about it, if I didn't have an inner judge inside of me that was also saying those messages, I wouldn't be triggered by what somebody outside of me would say. I wouldn't be afraid of that. I wouldn't be nervous to show up because it wouldn't have any effect on me. It wouldn't have any charge. But because my inner judge in my subconsciousness, beneath my ability to perceive, was still holding on to this message that who I am is not okay. If I receive that message from the outside, it just confirms that inner judge's message. And all of a sudden, I'm in trigger. I'm afraid. I'm nervous to show up again. I'm cowering. And I'm back in a state of fear. So my word of encouragement for you would be sometimes these are messages that we don't know we have lodged deep inside of us. And one way to find them out could be to do some journaling. This is how I discovered that I actually did have an inner judge. I did some journaling and I said, what do I really think about myself deep down at the most subconscious levels? And I was able to find that there was a part of me that still thought I was a monster. And I must be a monster because only a monster would go against God's will for my life. Only a monster would cause my family so much pain by coming out. And when I look at that with my conscious mind, I don't buy that. I say, no, of course I know that's not true. I know that God loves me for who I am. I know that I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be in the world. But my subconscious mind was holding on to this old programmed message that it actually wasn't okay to be who I am. And so I just would put that out there as a question for you today of what messages might you still be carrying around that maybe you blew them off because like, this is what happened to me. I said, okay, well, that experience must not have really harmed me. No big deal. It didn't work. I was able to make peace with my sexuality and my spirituality. No big deal. It must not have harmed me either. But because I kind of downplayed it and I didn't take those messages seriously, I didn't allow the possibility that they might still be inside of me, driving me and directing my life and causing me to make decisions to heal some kind of a wound that I didn't even know I had. So that'd be my invitation to you today is do some self-investigation and find out, are there inner messages? Is there an inner judge inside of you who is still holding on to something that is no longer true, that was never true, that is a harmful message, that is just, maybe it's actually directing your decisions and directing your life and you don't realize that. And you're making decisions in life because of that inner judge. And so my encouragement would be do some investigation, do some journaling, do some prayer, do some meditation, some self-reflection, and see if you can find those places. And when you do find them, I would just offer, there are so many ways that you can work with an inner judge, but one that worked really well for me was to give my inner judge a seat at the table. Because I found that when I tried to completely ostracize my inner judge, it didn't work. My inner judge is still a part of me. It's still a part of who I am. And it's an important part of who I am because it helps me make decisions and weigh things as true and not true and assess my own risks. But there's a negative side to the inner judge, which is when it's carrying around messages that who I am is not okay. So now I give that inner judge a seat at the table, because when I think about my life kind of as a boardroom and I see all of these different parts of myself that have a voice in my life, when I give my inner judge a seat at the table, I also can give my inner divinity a seat at the table. I can give my higher self, or my voice of my God self, the part of me that connects in with my highest knowing, that part of me also gets a seat at the table. And now when I sit at the CEO seat and I get to listen to all the voices that have something to say, I see where they're coming from. The inner judge is no longer hidden deep down in my subconscious. The inner judge is right there. I get to hear what the inner judge has to say and then give them assess, is that really true for me? With a little bit of space. It's like I have a little bit of space from that voice and I can say, I don't want to attach to that thought right now. That isn't helpful to me in this moment. That was an old thought pattern from before that had been conditioned for me. And now I can turn to that inner voice of wisdom, or that higher self, that inner voice of God's self, divinity. And I can say, I want to listen to my spark of divinity more than I want to listen to my inner judge right now. So this is the way I'm going to go forward. So I really hope that's helpful. I hope if anybody has been struggling with any sort of an inner judge voice, or maybe you didn't even know you did, maybe this will bring to mind something new for you to investigate and explore within yourself. The more we know ourselves, the more power and more empowered we are to make decisions in our lives that can best serve our purpose, our path, and the love that we're here to radiate in the world. So it's been lovely talking with you all today. I hope one day to come visit you in person, but for now, hello from across the country, and wishing you all the best on this Pride Month and in this Open and Affirming Sunday that you're having at your church. And blessings to you all. Thank you so much.